Hello everyone! Welcome to our Studio BJORN design portfolio. Let us first introduce ourselves. I am Kyle De Ala.
And I am Rihanna Gaite.
And we are the students from the La Salle College of St. Benilde. This project is under our Architectural Design 2 course. For this term, the theme is all about the architecture for the post-pandemic world, which we call Project Rebirth. This project aims to provide solutions to problems that arose during the pandemic, as we will be showing our in-depth process of how we transform ideas into design.
Let's open a new chapter in which we'll talk about pre-design. So here is the checklist of the things that we will be analyzing before designing. Let's start with our chosen site, which is located in Clark City, Pampanga. We chose this as our site as it is one of the places that has been arising to become more economically present. But since the economy of Clark is heavily reliant on businesses, it was also greatly affected by the pandemic. We saw the Strait of Clark to be a potentially great site for our project, as we want our project to be adaptable in terms of use, so it will be able to cater to different audiences and uses, like ranging from locals to tourists. Moving on to the physical site analysis, let's first talk about these parameters at a microscale. This microscale analysis will help us analyze how we will design it based on the immediate environment. So the measurement of the site is 1,000 square meters. This is located along Manila Gateway near the entrance to Clark City. The site can be easily accessed by car, by commute, or by foot, as there are many wide roads and pedestrians along intersections near the site. Some of the structures near the site are SM City Clark, Yokohama Tire Philippines, Medical City, and Tasca's offices. The land has low elevation, which means it is relatively flat, which makes it suitable for construction. As for vegetation, the land mostly has grass and some trees, which means the land is mostly open. Here are some of the vistas upon looking around the site. During our actual site visit, the rear side of the structure has ongoing construction, while for the other sides, it is still open land as said earlier. As for the sun path, the sun will rise at the right side of the structure, hit the front, left, and top during noon, and the sun will set at the left and rear side.
Next, for the mesoscale analysis, we will analyze the site on a wider scale, which will cover Clark as a city. So the spirit of the place is all about developing, innovating, rising, fresh, and resilient. In terms of economy, it has transformed to be the Clark Special Economic Zone, wherein different categories of businesses are present, such as aviation, tourism, leisure, fitness, entertainment, and gaming. Now for the macro scale, this will cover Mabalacat and Angeles City, as these are the cities that Clark belongs to. Here are some of the landmarks in the area which are easily accessible by expressways or local roads. As for the more technical side of this analysis, we researched for a windrose map that covers Angeles City, and it states that the parts of the city that will be impacted with the wind the most are the north to northwest and the south side. For the risks that can be encountered in this site, to summarize the information from this Project NOAA maps, first, flooding in the area is very minimal, storm surges are also not evident, and lastly, the fault line is 100 kilometers away, which makes it safe from earthquakes.
Talking about the macro scale, this is where the socio-political and socio-cultural analysis plays a wider part in application of the design and knowing the heritage of the site. For the socio-political, this is where legal activities come in, like building laws. Here are some of the laws that we will apply alongside the accessibility consideration. Setbacks are also one of the things needed to be considered to be open to the possibility of future developments to be seated beside their structure. For socio-cultural, coming from the name itself, it involves social and cultural aspects of the community. Pampanga is known for their colorful festivals and delicious food. The ingredients can also be sourced in Pampanga by fishing and farming, which are two of the main industries there. Some of the things that they are also known for are handicrafts, furniture making, and wood carving.
After analyzing the site, it is now the time to start thinking of what realm in terms of post-pandemic architecture we would like to tackle. We organize our thoughts through a concept map form to see how we want to branch out from this point onwards. Visualizing life after the pandemic, what we see is it will be a fresh start as we revive and redevelop our ways of life, which is now called our new normal. This involves taking on life with safety, restrictions, and adaptations as we encounter improvements in the way we move to be able to reshape and rediscover life as we recover from the pandemic.
We will now take all of these ideas into consideration for our project proposal. Starting off with the background of the study, Project Rebirth, it is all about adapting architecture for the post-pandemic world. Since architecture involves working with spaces, healing from a post-pandemic world would highly involve it. As we experience the pandemic, it has changed our perspectives on numerous things, so we alter our standards to now what seems to be safe and secure. Rather than creating temporary solutions, we would want to embed these elements to the structure itself, as its importance to be incorporated into the design is in a macro scale, then adding onto it are micro details that could be customized depending on the uses of space. One thing that we've lost during the pandemic was our freedom. We've been physically disconnected from the things that we used to do. The purpose of this project is to be able to reconnect us people and to be able to regain and retake what was lost during the pandemic. The Project Rebirth plans to reinstate a new architectural norm that features a healing architecture that is flexible and suitable enough to be able to modify to different circumstances.
We define the problems and opportunities that we want to keep in mind as we go along with this project. Under opportunities, first is to design spaces that would be considerate of the user's health. Second is to open up the structure to encourage a circulation and instead redesign the space to maximize and prioritize nature as a part of the structure itself. Third is problem seen in architecture is that it lacks flexibility and adaptability, so we will design the space to be multifunctional in case of a pandemic occurring again or another event the structure could still be used. The questions to be answered are, how can we incorporate elements that are good for a person's health into the design? What elements in the design itself could we add to ensure that the structure will be well ventilated? And what activities would occur inside the structure? And how could we design it to be adaptable in different situations?
For the project goal matrix, we will be tackling our goals and objectives to the actual designing of the project. We also incorporated our research in this part to be able to mesh together, tried and test the designs to the functionality of the space. The first goal is to create a space for healing. Starting with objective 1 is to be healed with the use of natural resources that are good for our health. The performance criteria is to use natural resources for 80% of the project. This is where biophilic designs takes place. According to ARCDaily, architects and designers are now researching for design solutions that will resonate well into the future, turning biophilia as an important source of inspiration as it promotes well-being, health, and emotional comfort.
For the strategies, we will share some of the materials to show how we are going to apply them to our design and what would the benefits be upon using those materials. The first one is wood. One of the most popular solutions is to incorporate wood. Research has shown that incorporating wood can reduce stress, contribute to good mental health, good physical health, lower levels of blood pressure, and concentration is greatly improved when wood surfaces are present. In addition to its warmth and organic properties, it also offers a balancing effect on interior moisture and humidity. So we definitely want to use wood in the design by incorporating more on furniture pieces and wall details. For outdoor application, we can use wall cladding that would still give a wooden look to the design. Next would be greenery. Incorporating greenery in space design gives a soothing effect to the human psyche. It also allows you to balance moments of business to rest, so it can contribute to stress reduction and overall creates a more homey atmosphere. They also help reduce air pollution, noise, and absorb dust. To incorporate greenery to the design, we still want to properly balance the elements of the space by inserting it to planter boxes inside the hollow spaces of furnitures. have designated space full of large amounts of vegetation, and we include this into the exterior of the structure as well. And for the last one is for the natural light. One of the most nurturing and sustaining elements of nature connected to having a biophilic design is natural light. Some of the benefits to be gained when being exposed to sunlight is your skin absorb vitamin D, which can prevent bone loss, risk of heart disease, and various cancers. To incorporate natural light to our design, we will be incorporating large windows, skylights, and just incorporating good natural health in general to make the space as bright and open as we can. We will also be using sage glass for the material as we've researched its electrochromic material, enabling the glass to prevent glare and overheating.
Moving on to Objective 2, which is to encourage physical activities in the space. The performance criteria is for 50% of the users to be in motion and the other 50 would be at rest. So for this objective, we took inspiration from workspaces, as these are one of the most sedentary spaces that you could ever be in, as you are enclosed in your cubicle for a number of hours in order to complete work. The first strategy involves providing a variety of spaces to suit a different range of activities. As we balance these spaces, we will boost physical movement as people continually pick spaces that they would want to stay in. We decided to offer indoor recreational activities as there are a lot of benefits to be gained from them, some of them being managing anxiety and stress. Second strategy is for another preference, which will cater to people interested in fitness. We will be having a fitness center to house equipment and have classes for group workouts as well. And the last strategy is to eliminate physical barriers. Making the spaces open as we can, we will encourage movement as it seems more inviting. Creating light walls, atriums, and large open spaces can help simplifying the space for easy access around that promotes unrestricted movement for the users.
For the third objective, it is to cultivate spaces for psychological healing. For this objective, we decided to lean towards healing architecture because it provides us a more scientific explanation on how these elements affect patients, but we are opting to get the generalized idea of it. So we will incorporate healing architecture in the sense of healing from different types of situations with the use of body, mind, and soul. For the performance criteria, we changed to incorporate 5 design elements or activities that will help in psychological healing. The research that we've gathered for the strategies are the following: to create home-like environments as these reduce pain and emotional distress. This could involve leisure activities such as making art. The next would be to have a view of nature which can help decrease stress levels and increase satisfaction. This may be a view of indoor or outdoor plants. Next, having natural light entering and providing a view of nature also helps in positive and hopeful thoughts. Research has found that music impacts emotion and reduces anxiety in different types of pain. Lastly, sensory rooms that provide music, comfortable seating, and relaxing imagery and tactile stimulation are considered as therapeutic tools.
So for our project goal 2, we want to redevelop architecture to be able to solve design problems that arose during the pandemic. By recognizing these sorts of problems, we came up with 3 objectives. So for our first objective, we would like our structure to be hospitable and open to all, but still manage the right amount of capacity for each space. We will be considering different types of people with different genders, personalities, and disabilities. We would be designing specific spaces for each category in order to provide them the satisfaction they want. So for the first strategy, we will be providing an area for people with different personality types. These will be all classified into zones, categorized as private/alone zone, private/together zone, public/alone zone, and public/together zone. Indication of zonings would be placed on the tables with the use of table standees. For the second strategy, designing PW-friendly facilities, we wanted to make our structure as PW-friendly as we can in order to achieve our objective, which is to welcome all kinds of people. For the third strategy, this is to designate spaces for different genders. For this one, we would like to design a space wherein they would feel comfortable. We would be incorporating gender inclusivity into comfort rooms to be created for the structure.
So for the project objective 2, which is to be flexible and adaptable to numerous situations, the term flexible architecture comes to place. Nowadays, the majority of architecture is static and doesn't change or adapt over time, just like some of the architecture here in the Philippines. So basically, flexible architecture can be simply described as malleable, movable, and multipurpose. Flexible architecture seeks to change the immovable and unadaptable architecture by reimagining the built environment as dynamic and mobile. So for project strategy 1, which is to design a movable protected layer for the glass panelings, we will be using louvers and breakers, or also known as brisole, as they are known for being the best and highly efficient shading system. It is basically designed to protect against the exposure of direct sunlight, can be an aesthetic design to enhance architectural appearance and provide natural circulation of air. Next, for project strategy 2, which are the movable walls that are layered into the actual structures. They use wall partitions to separate one room to another or to combine one room and another by removing the wall partition. So for project strategy 3, we will be using movable furniture to easily manipulate the space because, based on our research, movable furniture is best used for areas in structures that requires flexibility. Movable furniture allows us to change the layout or look of a certain area by changing and manipulating the placements of the furniture.
So for our project objective 3, we will be focusing more on maintaining hygiene as an important factor embedded to our design, especially now that we just experienced a virus outbreak. For our first strategy, we will be focusing on encouraging hand washing by placing signages and activating sinks with sensors. Research says that hand washing is still one of the most effective defenses against a virus. It helps stop the spread of germs, viruses, and bacteria because it limits the interactions of the users. Next is managing foot traffic. Research says that managing foot traffic could help in the prevention of the spread of illness, as the audience could avoid close contact from each other and avoid poorly ventilated spaces or crowded areas, which may lead to passing of illness or virus. For our last strategy, we will be managing air ventilation to help circulate fresh air, as it can be very beneficial to all our audiences. For our last strategy, we will be managing air ventilation to help circulate fresh air, as it can be very beneficial to our audiences. Research says that COVID viral particles spread more between people indoors rather than outdoors. The more open the structure is, the less likely the viral particles can be inhaled into the lungs or could contact the eyes, nose, and mouth. Here is our theoretical framework, which has a summary of the ideals of our project goal matrix. To explore the subcategories of the theoretical framework, we created these conceptual frameworks to be used as a guide in jotting down our main ideas.
Moving on to the activity, user, and space matrix. So for this part, we identified the primary activities that we are going to offer in our structure. We listed these considering the literature and goals that we've presented, wherein the best type of activities that align to our goals are recreational activities. The activities are looking at art, reading, relaxing or lounging, eating, crafting, and exercising. We listed down the possible interests of users that will be interested in those activities. So after looking at what could be the possible likes of users in each category, we classified them into the spaces. So the possible spaces would have an art gallery, library, leisure areas, dining areas, craft center, and a fitness center. So we will keep in mind the types of users that may use each area in laying this out in multiple floors.
For the space matrix, we added more areas that we would also need for the general needs of the users and the employees. So we classify these into 3 categories to be able to summarize what would best fit together in each floor of the structure. To summarize the data in this diagram, we represented it via bubble diagrams. This will help us see the scale of each space and how accessible they would be to each other. We lay this out considering the site analysis that we did. The common functions that we want each floor to have would be the storage room, garden, escalators, and comfort rooms. For the other elements in the ground floor, the main function would be to welcome the users into the space, so the reception would be the highlight for this floor. Alongside this would be the spaces for staff use, such as the storage room and the staff room. The escalator and elevator would most likely be situated at the middle part, as we want this to be accessible to all sides of the structure. This is also the place where the atrium will take place. Moving on to the second floor, the main use for the space would be the dining area. The dining area would have an indoor and outdoor space. Next would be the third floor, wherein the fitness area and leisure areas would take place. Leisure areas would be divided into indoor and outdoor spaces as well. This will be spaced out considering the zonings. For the fourth floor, this would highlight the library working alongside the craft center and the art gallery. And lastly, for the fifth floor, it would house seating areas, of course with a garden as a part of the design.
After doing these diagrams, we started to do estimates of the areas of the space by doing space audits. So here are some of the estimates that we did for the ground floor reception and staff room, second floor storage area, dining area with the food stalls and hand washing area. These tables and chairs can be easily stored in the storage area as they are all designed to be foldable and compact. Third floor fitness area and leisure areas, fourth floor library, craft center, and art gallery. These wall partitions attached to the art can be easily moved for storage. Here are the comfort rooms for the different genders as mentioned. We wanted to include inclusive into the design here as well. And last will be the spaces that would be for common use, which is the elevator, garden, and escalators. Now for the volumetric diagram, in consideration of these programs, we come up with a volumetric diagram. This volumetric diagram was now used as a guide in creating a form in consideration of the contents of each space. The void in the middle is for the placement of the atriums, escalators, and elevators. In consideration of the parameters in the site analysis, the part of the structure that would hit the sun the most would be the south to the southeast side. So we decided to place the gardens and comfort rooms in this area. Since the comfort rooms are enclosed and the gardens will be the one who need the sunlight the most. The other functions were spread out according to the priorities in the bubble diagrams.
It is now time to dive into our design process. To explore the volumetric diagram more, we made form iterations. Here are some of our initial forms, wherein we mostly played around with different scales and subtracting areas to create a more interesting form. As we look back more on our site analysis and literature, we came up with this form. We first thought of how we could incorporate culture to the form, and this is where we decided that we wanted to incorporate the fact that Pampanga is the culinary capital of the Philippines, as this branched out to the incorporating of the major products involving food as mentioned earlier was fishery. This sparked the idea for us to use fish scales as the shaping for each floor. This works hand in hand with having the biophilic design that we wanted to be represented indoor and outdoor. This results in creating a more organic form as we carved out each floor in a different way. We still wanted to maximize the interior space as we want to cater to many activities, so this was the form best suited for those objectives of ours. The curves collectively recreate a resemblance to fish scales in a more subtle way but still highlights the fluidity of the design.
We would like to take this time to explain why we arranged the uses per floor in this order. So for the ground floor, we wanted to highlight having a welcoming space for the users, which is why we placed the reception viewable upon going down the drop-off and entering the building. Next, for the second floor are the dining area. As users ourselves, we want the dining area to be more approachable upon entry of a building. This is also because we wanted to segregate the spaces for the activities above and have eating areas here below. Next, for the third floor, the fitness area here is enclosed to manage the sounds coming from here, not to disrupt the activities outside of it as much. Moving on to the fourth floor, the library is enclosed as well to manage sound outside, and the art pieces are spread out here to be easily seen by the users as they explore the structure. The seating area situated at the garden could be easily enjoyed by the users at any time, as we designed movable louvers to manage the sunlight coming in the area.
We now present to you Project Rebirth, a fresh start to the post-pandemic world as it creates a safe space for the healing of the mind, body, and soul. Utilizing natural resources, namely wood, greenery, and natural light through a biophilic design. Encouraging movements in space with different activities and welcoming spaces. Altogether, cultivating psychological healing and creating a healing type of architecture. Contributing to the change brought by the new normal, this reshapes architecture and space to prioritize inclusivity, adaptability, and safety of the users. This considers creating a design that could cater to all, managing space to be functional yet still flexible to different uses. And the most important part of it, reflected by living in a pandemic, is to value safety and hygiene not only for the space but also for the users.
The pandemic has revealed many problems in our world, the design of spaces being only one of them. As we reach the end of this pandemic, if you want to be an inspiring architect like us, let us strive to design spaces for the betterment of the world, one sketch at a time. We hope you enjoyed this video.
This is Rihanna
And Kyle signing off.